Welcome everybody to a special edition of Smack Talk here at SmarkOutMoment.com. I am your host, as always, Tony Mango. With me is Chris Dace, Michael Burhan. We are going to talk today about the It Begins 2012, or whatever the hell, what are they calling it now?
Yeah, the
Anyway,
end begins now. The end begins.
no matter what it is, it's Chris Jericho returns. Now, I wanted to get this up on YouTube as soon as possible before everybody starts doing all their little stupid video manipulation things and stuff like that, where this gets buried. Uh,
Mike
so,
Freak!
yeah. So, all right. First impressions. I gotta say, hated it. I'll elaborate.
Same.
I'll elaborate later. All right, you hated it too, Mike?
Yeah, because the fact is, you're sitting there calling on the apocalypse and all this crap, and you're going to take back what's yours, and the end is nigh and all that. The guy comes out thanking everybody, being all nice and happy.
Hmm.
That doesn't really help, does it? I was like, I'm going to be the apocalypse. Oh, look, it's Jesus. Hi.
All right, first impressions, Dace. What do you think?
Oh, I absolutely despised it. The only thing that I thought was going to save it was, because it felt too cheesy to be Jericho, was that he was going to make an instant heel turn and call them parasites. That's the moment I was hoping for.
I was hoping that too, because anybody who hasn't seen it yet, uh, literally, this is a full recap of what Jericho does here. The lights go out, a la The Rock earlier when he made his return last year, and then we wait about like a minute, and then you just see the outline of Jericho because he's wearing one of those light up jackets from like the 1970s, something out of like fucking Revenge of the Nerds or something like that. And he walks around the ring and just keeps going, yeah, 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 yeah. And he's it's somebody on Twitter, I can't remember who it was, so I apologize, had said, and this is a good way of summarizing it. Jericho's soaking up a Hulk Hogan reaction that isn't there. There's
Yeah.
not as big of a chant going on that warranted Chris Jericho walking around for 10 minutes or whatever it was, just pretending like he was getting the reaction of WWE history. I think, for the most part, people were thinking Jericho because Jericho was getting chanted before it even happened. Everybody starts chanting Y2J. And then when he came out, everybody just seemed like they were like, ah, yeah, I was right. Like,
I think people were just expecting to hear something from him, and they didn't. He just didn't talk. He just stood there going, "Yeah, yeah, like the Kool-Aid Man. Yeah."
And he jumped into the crowd with that one guy, and the guy looked completely not into like what was going on. That old guy that looked like Newt Gingrich. He was just completely uninterested and could care less that Jericho was back.
It's like he jumped into a whole field full of Amish people.
Hmm.
Is it you English?
Well, the thing with Jericho is now I'm a big fan of Jericho, and I was hoping that it would be him because I want to see one of these two matches, either Jericho against CM Punk at WrestleMania for the title, or Jericho as a babyface against The Miz. Now, I'm not expecting the Jericho Miz match to happen, but when it comes to a guy returning that I'm a big fan of course I would rather take him coming back than nothing. But I want it to be something that other people who aren't necessarily automatically a big fan of them is as excited as I am. And I was excited right now for this to happen. And then when he came out, it was just kind of like I didn't give a shit. I mean, that's like the nicest way that I can kind of put it. Like, yeah, I kind of thought it was Jericho. Like, my second guess thing was I started going under the Shane McMahon thing that Dace was talking about. And then it was just like, you know what, I'm going to have to go with Jericho here. And then he comes out and I'm like, yeah, all right, it was Jericho. And then now I kind of don't care what's next, you know?
I think.
Yeah, I felt the same way because, like, I knew it was Jericho, but I was really just hoping, from like a surprise factor effect, it would be someone like Shane.
Yeah, I would have been much more surprised and much more intrigued if it would have been Shane.
Mm-hmm.
It needed to be at the end of the show. This 2012 promo thing. It should have been at the end of the show. It
Right.
shouldn't have happened right, like slap bang before the main event.
Especially this
Because
main event, which is, by the way, for the people that aren't here, everybody except for the three of us, of course, we're actually recording this right now while Mark Henry's walking to the ring. So I don't know how he's going to wrestle, but yeah, this is a shitty main event, and That's why we're recording it now, because the hell with it, we don't really pay much attention. So now everybody who is wanting to watch Raw because of the whole who's going to return thing, they might as well just shut it off right now.
Yeah, no, it's totally lackluster.
Unless
Because at
they've
the
got
end
a
of the
swerve
day,
angle coming.
You think a swerve's happening right now?
Well, no, I mean, it's Swagger coming out, and like you said, Henry can't wrestle, right? So maybe Jericho was just the plant.
well, they need something because the whole 2012 promo thing needed to happen. As I said, it's like whenever you do a big return, that person always targets someone. Like, with Kane, they did it perfectly with him when he came to the ring. You thought he was going to attack Henry, and then chokeslam Cena, and everyone's like, "What the fuck? Why did he do that for?"
One
Do you
swerve
know
that
what I
I
mean?
can see coming, if this is going to happen in the next minute or so, is Mark Henry's not cleared to wrestle and Brodus Clay comes in route and replaces him. I'm expecting this to happen. Let's see what happens. Well, here comes Kane. So let's see what happens with that. But while that's happening, um, when it comes to the Brodus Clay thing too, now uh, he was supposed to be
Yeah.
returning tonight, and he hasn't returned yet. We still have about 13 minutes left of the program, so it might end up being the replacement for Mark Henry. But I was even thinking if it was Brodus Clay, I would be more interested because that would be wow. How are they going to make how are they going to step the game up because people are expecting somebody like Jericho and Brodus doesn't have that big fan following. If they would have done that, I would have been like, wow, okay, now they really have to work their asses off to get this over, you know?
Again, it's just the impact of the whole thing. They should have really figured what they were supposed to be doing with this, and just the fact that he just came out moronically and went, yeah, 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 yeah. You just sat there thinking, all
No,
right.
no, no, no. That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
It's like the guy's constipated or something, or he's just, there's something that we're not in on, which is fine, but that whole reaction, that whole thing he did doesn't really make me want to actually see Jericho do anything because he hasn't done anything that's, eventful. That's saying, look at me, I'm making a statement tonight. Instead, it's, yeah, fuck all the apocalyptic 2012 videos. It's just me soaking up all the attention.
Mhm.
That's all it was.
And they didn't explain anything about the girl.
Yeah,
They didn't explain anything about anything.
yeah. They didn't. That's another thing that annoyed me a bit as well because he just came out there. It's like, okay, you're calling for the apocalypse. You're saying that you've got this girl behind you and that she says this, that, and everything else. But it's him on his own. It's him soaking up all the attention, him being him, and it doesn't really do much. Just
So,
it's just really lackluster. Oh, and here comes David Otunga.
you're a little bit behind than Dace and I are.
Oh, okay, like,
Are you caught up with
uh,
the same way I am, Dace, right now, where it's already Otunga's left and we're already in the middle of a match?
what
Yep.
was he just? Does he just say that like
No,
Henry can't wrestle again?
for some reason, Kane isn't wrestling right now, and Henry's standing on the ropes. I don't know. It's WWE. What the hell? They were too busy. They were like, "Oh, how do we write this Jericho promo?" I know. We'll just say yeah a bunch of times.
I just I don't understand. It's like this is supposed they built this up to be so huge, and again, this is what I talk about when someone puts together something like this, which could have been something epic, even though they haven't built it up as well as they should have done. It could have been something really, really epic,
Hmm.
and then they just threw it away. You're just
Yeah.
sitting there thinking, why would you throw it away like that? Why would you do something like that? Because now they've just literally destroyed any chance of Jericho actually receiving any sort of proper heat. Now he's got to build that back himself, either by cutting some huge promos or whoever he gets paired up against, you know, and they've literally just destroyed any heat that this guy's supposed to be getting just because he did that stupid entrance.
Well, see,
That reveal was just terrible.
Jericho's good enough that he can take next week
Hmm.
and kind of make up for it. But at the same time, if you don't have anything planned at all, I mean, unless there's something that they're planning with this, and that was a whole we want Jericho to come out and say nothing, and it's a grand scheme that we don't know the end to, and they're gonna get one over on us and all that kind of stuff. Unless it's something like that, which I highly doubt that it is, then he has an uphill battle to take instead of just that intro and then going right into it full steam. Because when you come back, you instantly get that big pop, unless nobody gives a shit about you. But Jericho is somebody that people do give a shit about. So they started with a lot of momentum, and then they immediately killed it. So now they have to build it all the way back up again, just as if this whole It Begins promo thing never happened in the first place. Now,
Yeah, no,
when it
go
comes
on,
to
Dice.
the whole we've got a plan for this, don't worry about it. The reason I don't think that that's a plan is because WWE has a track record of saying that they've got a plan and then not doing anything. Like the Nexus, they had a greater calling. We never figured out what that was. Who tried to kill McMahon? Okay, well now the Chris Benoit thing happens. We're just going to drop that. McMahon's millionaire kind of thing. What happened with that? The hell with it. We'll just ignore it for a while. Who's the anonymous Raw GM? The hell with it. We'll just do it. So I'm not expecting them to be like, we've got a plan, and it's just the fans aren't privy to the information, so we don't know, and we're going to get one over on you and all that. That's not the case. I'm 100% expecting this to just be one of those things where they didn't have an idea of what he will do. So they're like, well, okay.
But this is the thing. This is Jericho. He says that he has more control over his character.
Mm-hmm.
And if he did re-sign with the WWE based solely on this promo, you have to know that he probably had some doing in this whole reveal, because obviously the promos are very Jericho-like in the first place.
Right.
The thing that
A little bit more
shocks
Undertaker
me,
like, I think, but
what,
Jericho-esque as well.
yeah, and what shocks me is how bad this reveal was. It just literally shat on everything that was supposed to be going on. And I've got a funny feeling this was actually done on purpose. Actually, probably by Jericho himself. So in the next couple of weeks, we're going to find out exactly what's going on with the guy. But what I don't like, as I said before, and I'm probably am repeating myself here. He hasn't made a big impact straight away,
Mm.
which is something that hurts him. Um, and it's going to hurt his opponent, whomever that's going to be. It's because I feel they probably intended for him to come back and face Punk, but because of all this thing between Punk and Laurinaitis, they've now inserted Ziggler into that position. So they now need to find someone for Jericho to actually feud with. And now Cena's got Kane going on at the moment. So who else does that leave Jericho with? It leaves him with no one. So he's literally doing the same thing that he did. I think it was 2 years ago when he was supposed to originally be fighting Mickey Rourke at Mania,
Mm.
and he literally just, Rourke changed his mind, and then Jericho had to mold his promos around a mystery opponent until they figured out they're going to just have him face three guys at the pay-per-view.
What do you think of Dace? Do you think that this was a planned thing, that they specifically wanted Jericho to come out and say nothing, or that Jericho, at the very least, wanted to come out and say nothing? Or do you think that this is more of WWE Creative has no idea what they're doing with him, so let's just have him show up because we already said that we were going to have it on January 2nd, and we're fucked, we can't do nothing? What do you think? We lose you, Dace? Alright.
Daisy,
If if it is a case where...
Call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system.
Alright. We've lost Dace, so...
in
if
place of Chris Dace, is the voicemail service.
Right. If it is a story where they have nothing to do and they just had to commit to Jericho, then I am even more disappointed with this, because I think that they're going to rush because they've got Royal Rumble and WrestleMania and everything, and they're not going to have the mindset to spend 15 minutes and think about things. They're going to be so worried about everything else that they're going to just screw the whole thing up. And we're going to be looking at a card at WrestleMania where it's The Rock and Cena, and then fuck, we have a whole bunch of other matches we need to do. Well, we can't do Mysterio and Sin Cara because they're both injured, and Randy Orton's injured, and Mark Henry's injured, and Christian's injured, and Del Rio's injured, and let's just throw darts at the fucking board. Now, maybe I'm just being cynical about this and everything, and I'm shooting from the gun really early here. Jericho just came back. We've got
No, but you've
months
got every
until that.
right to be, because look at the way that they've booked, like someone like Brian, for instance. The fact that he won, he's supposed to be a credible world champion. He won today with a small package,
Hmm.
and the fact that he's acting like some sort of weird fanboy over the blooming WWE title. You know,
Yeah.
it's you can see why there's lack of faith in creative at the moment, because it seems they're shooting from the hip quite a lot when it comes to these sort of things. They have no pride, because before there was this whole promise that they were going to book everything from up to WrestleMania, every single storyline they had going on, every single feud, book for WrestleMania and start backwards, so that at least know what was going on. But it seems now they've just have no idea what they're going to do, you know, and it's kind of hurting guys like Jericho, who should, Jericho needs a big pop. Jericho should have had that huge, comeback,
Hmm.
because he deserves that. He's been away for quite some time now. He's arguably, other than the WWE's top guys like Cena and CM Punk, Jericho has probably got the most outside appeal, other than these other wrestlers. And you need to think about something like that, because he's been on Dancing with the Stars. He's done other things other than wrestling. There should be more people in there tuning in to see him. But after the bad reveal, that's going to hurt a lot of his steam. And he needs to build himself back up in order to get that momentum back. And it's going to be a very hard, struggling time for him to do that. I know his primary skills is that great, and he is that great. He can bring himself back on top again. But that shouldn't have happened in the first place. That's really, really bad booking, even for the WWE.
Hmm. Well, the
So
Raw seems like it's just about to end, and we not only didn't get Brodus Clay for like the 14th week in a row that they've said that he was going to re-debut, but now we got the typical generic Cena pins, Jack Swagger, and now we've got Kane coming out. Why didn't Kane just wrestle in the match?
I've got a funny feeling. Is he beating on? Yeah, he's beating on Ryder.
He's beating on Ryder because he can't really 100% beat on Cena, right? And now Ryder's got to cower away in fear and run away, and
Yeah, but this is silly, because yeah, he's a United States champion, and he's getting beaten the crap out of by Kane. Now Kane looks like he's raping Cena.
Well, you'll be surprised in about a second because you're a little bit behind. Right now, they're doing the typical thing where he's pulling him being Ryder, into the ring. The Undertaker and Diesel thing from the Royal Rumble.
So he's pulling Ryder into the ring now.
Right,
Oh,
but of course,
God.
John Cena saves him because he's John Cena. Yeah. So they spent a whole lot of time working on this, I'm sure, and maybe they spent all that time working on that and not enough time working on Jericho's promo, and that was the whole thing. They were like, "Oh crap, we need to figure out how to do." All right, well, that was a little nice twist right there. They had the fire coming out of it. Okay, I'll give them a little bit of credit for that one. But so
a
now,
lot of this seems kind of rapey. No offense.
no offense
Because it's
taken.
just like he's mugging Cena, he's choking him out, he's holding him on the floor, he's ripping his clothes off.
Yeah. Well, it looks like Raw's over with, and now that means that there isn't anything that we're missing with this Jericho thing. So we have to wait until next week, or at the very least until tomorrow's SmackDown, before they start trying to add some actual information in there instead
No,
of
they're going to add
just.
nothing on SmackDown. They're just going to be as vague as possible.
Right. Well, if anything, they're going to just re-show the fact that Jericho returned
Yeah.
and have him say "yeah" a bunch more times, and then next week we're going to get the lovely privilege of having to watch it like 4 times, probably in full, with them introducing Jericho again and him going "yeah, yeah, 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 yeah" a whole bunch of times, and then probably starting to say the promo. So that's about it, I would assume, for this week. With the Jericho thing, we will have episode 10 of Smack Talk coming up at the end of this week. We're going to touch on the Jericho thing just a little bit, if anything else happens. And then for the rest of the week, if anything else happens in the world of wrestling, then we'll talk about that stuff as well. Remember that coming up soon, there's going to be a whole lot of Royal Rumble coverage, and if you haven't already, go back and check the awards presentation that we've got, Best and Worst of 2011 in WWE Awards, here at smarkoutmoment.com or youtube.com/smarkoutmoment.
Also on www.nerdgenius.com. The entire playlist of the award shows on there, the entire
Yeah, you can find me all over the place. So, as far as the Jericho thing goes, any last words?
As far as I'm concerned, I hope WWE has a plan. And I hope Jericho, literally, if he's not involved in this, he needs to be. Otherwise, he is just going to end up, just shoved in the mix with everybody else and not stand out the way Jericho should do.
And my final verdict on this whole thing is, I have been saying for the past couple weeks that I didn't really like the build up to this. I thought it was kind of lackluster and boring, since they kept repeating the same stuff with the kid in the school and nothing had changed. And
that's part of the mood. The mood is about to change.
And then it ends up being a very lackluster introduction, and my interest when they first showed the first It Begins 2012 promo was skyrocketed, and then ever since then it went completely down, and it's just gone down even more this week. So they have a big uphill battle to climb next week to get me really interested in this again. But since I want to be optimistic here, I'm going to say I think Jericho will be good coming out. I mean, he is Jericho, but at the same time, what a letdown.
Just want to say one more thing, and I know you're responsible for this. You're the same guy who's responsible for writing that god-awful Beth Phoenix and Natalia running around the ring thing. If you keep writing this bad stuff, we will come down and we will hurt you.
Yeah.
Okay? We will hurt you. We know where you live. Stop doing this.
We know where you live, generic guy that we don't know the name of. Whoever
Fuck
you
you,
are.
generic writer guy. Fuck you.
So that about does us for this whole thing, and this has been a Smark Out Moment, and we're being counted out. See you next time.